Hey everybody, so I wanted to send you a story that you could look at because I know we can't all get together for children's church right now, but I wanted to send children's church to you. So I'm going to tell you a story about a man named Zacchaeus, and he climbed up into a tree so he could see Jesus. So first, I want to show you one little thing. These are some flowers that Ellie Kay and Micah picked for me in the yard. I know that when we're stuck inside, there's still a few things that we can do, like go outside and pick flowers, or maybe splash in some puddles if your mom and dad say it's okay, or run as fast as you can. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do right now, even though we can't go around and see everybody. I have another outside thing that I want to show you. And you can make this yourself. Now, I made mine out of wrapping paper, but I'm going to put a link so that you can learn how to make one out of newspaper, and I think you could make one out of tissue paper too. So this is a tree. I know it has little snowmen on it. That's my wrapping paper. But I want you to see my tree. It looks a little right now, but watch this. We carefully pull. Can grow. And so now we have our own little indoor tree. So my story today is going to be about a man who climbed up in a tree. I said his name was Zacchaeus. And so it wasn't a wrapping paper tree, but I'm going to talk about that. Okay. So if you have a Bible at home, you can pause my video after I tell you where the Bible address is, and you can get somebody to help you, or check the table of contents so that you can find the book of Luke and then go to chapter 19. So if you need to, take some time, as long as you need to, pause it, find that place in the Bible. I'm going to go ahead and start reading. So I'm at Luke chapter 19, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 10. Okay. He entered Jericho and was passing through. Now this is Jesus. Jesus is walking around with his disciples. He entered Jericho and was passing through. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. And he was seeking to see who Jesus was. But on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. Okay, so small in stature means that Zacchaeus was short. Now, I'm still a pretty short person, but I can remember back when I was a little girl that I would be in my mama's kitchen and I would try to get something on the counter, but I couldn't reach because I was too small. I would try to reach and it was over my head. I couldn't see what was up there. Or like whenever I would go to the bathroom, I would try to turn on the faucet, but I couldn't reach. And I usually need somebody to help me to reach the faucet. So I know that some of you right now, maybe you're still too small to be able to see over things or to reach things. Well, Zacchaeus was all grown up. I mean, he was a grown man, and he couldn't see over the people in the crowd. There were so many people that were following Jesus and wanted to be around Jesus that Zacchaeus couldn't see over them or through them, and he really wanted to see Jesus. So let's see what he does. He has a little idea. In verse 4, so he ran on ahead and climbed into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. So he knew where Jesus was going to go, and he was getting ready. He wanted to climb up. He wanted to be able to see. He knew that he was going to go that way. And so let's see what happens. There's a little bit of a surprise whenever Jesus walks that way. So it says here, verse 5, and when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. Okay, so Zacchaeus really wanted to see Jesus, but then what happened was that as Jesus was walking by, he looks up and he sees Zacchaeus. And he doesn't just see Zacchaeus, he wants to go to Zacchaeus' house. And so Zacchaeus is like living the dream right now. Not only did he see the person he wanted to see, the most famous person in Israel right now, but Jesus saw Zacchaeus and he wants to spend the day with him. And so it was pretty exciting for Zacchaeus. Can you see the picture? Okay, good. All right. So Zacchaeus in verse 6, It says, so he hurried and came down and received him joyfully. Zacchaeus was so excited. He led Jesus to his house. He probably gave him a meal. He probably got him something to drink and a nice place to rest. Because Jesus has been walking around with a bunch of people. So he's probably tired at this point. But he's let Jesus into his home so that Jesus could rest there and he could be around Jesus. And all he wanted to do was see Jesus. Okay? Now, do you ever know anybody who's kind of grumbly and mean? There's some grumbly and mean people coming up in this next verse. In verse 7 it says, and when they saw it, they all grumbled. Now, these are some of the people that are following Jesus, okay? Maybe not his closest friends, but some other people who were around. They saw it and they grumbled. He has gone into to be the guest of a man who is a sinner. Okay, so they're talking about how Zacchaeus is a tax collector and he's a sinner. Maybe they know about some things that Zacchaeus has done. But let's think for a second. Okay, a sinner is a person who has sinned. Now, y'all, have you ever sinned before? Have you ever done any one thing that was wrong? Anything? I'll tell you the truth, I have. Sometimes I have done things that I shouldn't have done. And so, I'm a sinner, and you're a sinner too. And so, I think also, those people who were following Jesus around, all of them were sinners. Our Bible says that everyone has sinned. Okay, so they shouldn't have been talking about Zacchaeus because who Jesus wants to see is okay. All right, so let's see. What does Zacchaeus do about this? And what does Jesus have to say about these people? Okay. And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold. Okay. So what he's saying is, I have done things before I shouldn't have, but I'm going to return what I have taken away. So we know that Zacchaeus' heart has changed. He's not just invited Jesus into his house, he's invited Jesus into his heart too. And so he wants to repent. Let me show you this word, repent, okay? Let's pretend your sin is over here. It's all the bad things that you do, okay? And you are facing towards your sin. When you repent, you say, I'm sorry about the things I've done, and you turn completely around away from that sin. You turn away from it. So he's not just saying, I'm sorry, and then going on with his life. He's saying, I'm sorry, and then he's giving things back that he's fixing the hurt that he's made. He's giving back what he's taken. Okay, and now let's see what Jesus says about that. And Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, since he is also a son of Abraham, for the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. Okay, so this is like the best day of Zacchaeus' life, because he wanted to see Jesus, and he got to see Jesus, and then Jesus came to his house. Isn't that really neat? And not only that, he's turned away from his sin, he repented, and now Jesus is saying that this is the day of salvation. Zacchaeus is not just a short man who climbed a tree. He's part of Jesus's family now. He's what we call a disciple, a follower of Jesus. And so isn't that wonderful? I want you to think about us. Now, we don't get to see Jesus walking around today because he's in heaven with our Father. But we can invite Jesus into our hearts, okay? I want you to think about what Zacchaeus did. He had his sin. He knew that he had done bad things, and he repented. He turned away from that sin. We can do that too. We can look at our sin and the bad things we've done, and we can turn away from that sin too. We don't have to climb up in a tree. We don't have to go find Jesus, because he's always listening and he's always watching for us, okay? And so I want you to think about doing that. Repenting and turning away from your sin. We know that Zacchaeus did that and that he was saved. And I want you to think about letting Jesus into your heart. Even though you can't let him into your home right now, you can let him into your heart. Okay. Y'all, that's all I have for today. I'm going to put a couple links in my comment section and in the description of my post so that y'all can do my tree craft. It's pretty easy. All you need is some kind of paper like newspaper or wrapping paper and tape and scissors. So get a grown-up to help you with that. And I've got a couple of silly songs for it. There's a Zacchaeus song. There's a funny Veggie Tales one. And then there's another one that's really fun to sing. So I really hope I get to see you soon. I love y'all. Bye.